On Carlos, you thought Trump won.
Yeah, because I feel like he spoke more on the bigger issues, especially problems at the border.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm here to talk about the big presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, which recently took place. We're focusing on how undecided voters slam Kamala in debate with Trump. We have a lot to talk about, especially when it comes to how undecided voters reacted to the debate. So let's dive in and break it down. First off, one of the big criticisms is that Kamala Harris didn't directly answer a lot of the questions she was asked during the debate.
When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children.
About 95% of the time, when she was asked something, she avoided giving a clear answer. Now, during the debate, one of the key issues was the economy. Harris, instead of giving a direct answer, talked about how she plans to help middle-class families. She mentioned ideas like giving a big tax cut to help families afford things like cribs and car seats. However, voters pointed out that she didn't really answer the main question, which was whether Americans are better off now than they were 4 years ago. The voter also touches on Harris's approach during the debate. It suggests that her goal wasn't to win over undecided voters, but to prove that she could debate and stand up to Trump. According to some persons, she talked a lot, but her words didn't have much meaning. This led to a key criticism. Undecided voters want to hear real policies and solutions, and many of them felt like Harris didn't provide that.
Different policies, like she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow, quiet please, he would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now.
One moment that stood out was when Harris was asked about the war between Russia and Ukraine. Instead of answering how she would stop the war, she gave a speech about America needing to be a strong leader and not selling out its values for personal flattery.
The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
Some people think her response didn't really connect to the issue, and this was just another example of her avoiding tough questions. Now let's talk about Donald Trump. Throughout the debate, he stayed focused on criticizing Harris for not having a plan. According to Trump, Harris copied Joe Biden's plan and didn't have her own. He also pointed out that she didn't do much during her time in office, and he asked why she hasn't already fixed things like the border and the economy. Trump also made a big deal about Harris's past positions, like supporting the defund the police movement and raising money to bail out people who committed crimes during protests. He used this to paint her as a radical politician who would hurt the country.
Stand on the issues, and I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. Just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences. Like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
One of the major topics of the debate was immigration. Trump brought up the issue of the southern border and criticized Harris for not doing enough to stop illegal immigration.
I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate, because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right. You'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
He challenged her directly, asking why she hasn't done anything to secure the border during her time in office. Some voters highlighted this moment as a strong point for Trump because he put Harris on the spot and forced her to explain why these problems haven't been solved yet.
To let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one.
Interestingly, some people showed Trump's strategy during the debate. While in past debates, like in 2020, Trump was known for being loud and angry, this time he kept his cool. He was still passionate, but he didn't get as upset or emotional as he had in previous debates. Some voters thought this was a smart move by Trump, as it made him look more focused on the issues, rather than just attacking Harris's personality.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Now let's talk about how undecided voters reacted to the debate. From interviews with a few voters, especially from Pennsylvania and Arizona, who shared their thoughts, many of them felt that Harris didn't do enough to win their support. One voter mentioned that Harris just repeated what Joe Biden had said in the past and didn't bring anything new to the table.
He spoke facts. She just basically repeated everything that Biden has said in the past.
What were your thoughts? Donald Trump made a strong closing statement by saying, why didn't they do all the things that she's proposing during the 3.5 years that they've been in office? And Biden did this entire moderate stance back in 2020, and she's trying to do it again in 2024, but she didn't talk about her policy changes between 2020 and 2024. Her whole centrist moderate stance is just a facade.
Another voter pointed out that Harris didn't seem to understand the concerns of people who have gone through the legal immigration process, which made her stance on border security seem weak.
On Carlos, you thought Trump won.
Yeah, because I feel like he spoke more on like the bigger issues, especially problems at the border. My family came here legally. We went through that process and it took a long time. Now we're good. So it feels wrong that other people, the illegals, are coming here more easily and getting more benefits than regular Americans. And then we've also had American people die at the hands of illegal immigrants, like a young boy from Ohio. His name was Aiden Clark, who was killed by an illegal Haitian. He'd still be alive if we had a stronger border security.
These undecided voters felt that Trump did a better job of addressing the bigger issues, like the economy and immigration. They believed that Trump had a stronger plan for dealing with these challenges, while Harris didn't offer clear solutions. One voter even mentioned that Harris's centrist, moderate stance felt like a facade, meaning it wasn't real or genuine. There was also a poll taken after the debate, and it showed that Trump gained more support for his handling of the economy. Before the debate, 53% of voters thought Trump was better at handling the economy, but after the debate, that number went up to 55%. On the other hand, Harris's support for handling the economy dropped from 37% to 35%. This suggests that her performance didn't convince voters that she had a better plan for the economy. Some believe that this debate was important for undecided voters, and many of them felt that Harris didn't do enough to earn their vote. Some persons argued that Harris was more focused on attacking Trump's personality than on talking about policies that could help Americans. On the other hand, Trump was seen as defending his record and focusing on real issues like border security, jobs, and the economy. One of the big takeaways from the debate is that Trump didn't need the debate as much as Harris did. Trump already has a strong base of supporters, and nothing that happened during the debate was likely to change their minds. However, Harris needed to win over undecided voters, and according to the video, she didn't succeed in doing that. The person in the video even said that unless there's a second debate, Harris might have blown her chance to convince those voters. Another key point is that Harris didn't separate herself from Joe Biden. Many voters see her as being too closely tied to Biden's policies, and they were looking for her to stand on her own and present new ideas. However, some argues that she failed to do this, which could hurt her chances with undecided voters. So what does this mean for the upcoming election? According to some voters, it's unlikely that the debate will move the polls much, but it did show that Trump remains strong on key issues like immigration and the economy. Harris, on the other hand, has more work to do if she wants to win over undecided voters.